What are you? You're an answer looking for problems to solve. What God has done on your life, what struggle you have overcome, is an answer for somebody else. Okay, second thing, you got to know who you are. You've got to know who you are. This message of identity is such a huge challenge right now. I've had the privilege as a grandmother to do, I think I did 7 youth conferences in the last year. I mean, I'm like, really? I think they're like, we don't like our parents, but we all love our grandparents. You know how that is. So they're like, grandparents, yay, grandparents. So I've done 7 youth conferences. I'm going to do Bethel's Young Saints, and I'm going to do a Russian youth conference this year. But then I'll be done with my youth conferences. But I love millennials. I think they're amazing. I love Gen Z. I birthed 4 millennials. If you're a millennial, can you stand to your feet right now? I'm gonna single you out. Come on, if you're a millennial, awesome. Everybody standing? I just want you to know I could have birthed you. Everybody standing. I could have birthed you. All right, no, keep standing. Okay. Traveling and speaking at youth conferences. I also do some leadership at Southeastern University. I find that you're a generation that is so distracted by what everybody else is doing that you can't figure out what you are supposed to do. You are so many options. When I was dating John, I had 2 choices. Do you want the Christian guy with a job or the Christian guy without a job? And the correct answer is always with a job. So I was 2 choices. But nowadays, if I was single, it would be 350,000 Instagram posts to choose from. I would be so panicked that maybe the one would happen the next day that I would just freeze. And that is what your generation has done. You have frozen. You have frozen. And I need you to unfreeze. I need you to unfreeze. Because I believe the reason why your generation doesn't know what they're called to do is because you are called to do something that has never been done before. And when a generation rises on the face of the earth that is called to do something that has never been done before, you cannot be distracted by what everybody else is doing. You got to get in the presence of God. He'll whisper things to you in worship. He'll whisper things to you. You write it down, because we need you to do that thing, that new thing. We don't want you to remake the old thing. We want you to do the new thing. We don't want you to criticize the old thing. We need to see you do the new thing. And we are cheering you on in Jesus' name. Amen? You can sit down. Scripture on identity, Matthew 16, verses 13 through 19. I'm going to read it in the Message. It says, when Jesus arrived in the villages of Caesarea Philippi, he asked his disciples, what are people saying about who the Son of Man is? They replied, some think he is John the Baptizer on Twitter. Some say Elijah or Jeremiah or one of the other prophets on Instagram. He pressed them and said, how about you? Who do you say I am? Simon Peter said, you're the Christ, the Messiah, the Son of the living God. Jesus came back and said, God bless you, Simon, son of Jonah. You didn't get that answer out of a John Bevere book or from a Stephen Furtick podcast. My Father in heaven, God himself, let you in on this secret of who I really am. And now I'm going to tell you who you are, really are. You are Peter, a rock. This is the rock on which I'll put together my church, a church so expansive with energy that not even the gates of hell will be able to keep it out. And then this is where late night marketing got their idea from. And that's not all. You will have complete and free access to God's kingdom. Keys to open any and every door. No more barriers between heaven and earth and heaven. A yes on earth is a yes in heaven. A no on earth is a no in heaven. But if you don't know who you are, you won't know what to ask. See, you have to know when you are, and you got to know who you are so you know what to ask. But you do not find out who you are in the presence of people. You find out who you are in the presence of God. Why? Why did he change his name from Simon to Peter? Simon's biblical. Why not stay with Simon? Well, I need to tell you what Simon means. Simon means to listen or to hear. It also means reed like and pliable. Simon bent in the direction of everything he heard. Satan, should I walk on the water? And he's always all over the place. And I sense that God is saying to us, you can no longer be Simon. Church, you can no longer be Simon. I need you to be Peter. I need you to be a rock. I need you to be immovable, because that is the kind of church that I can build upon. A church so expansive with energy because it understands what it is in. So you and I are in the rock, Jesus Christ. And when we fall, we do not fall outside of the rock. We fall in the rock. We are wrapped in the indestructible work of Jesus Christ. And in that work, you and I have a frame of adamant. Adamant. Random word. It didn't begin as stubborn and unyielding. It began as a dream. Among Greek poets and philosophers, they got together and they said, what if there was a stone that was woven so tightly that any inferior stone would be crushed when it came in contact with it? What if there was a stone that was magnetic where it would draw but never be drawn? What if there was a stone you could put it in the fire, grab it out, and it'd be cool to the touch? What if there was a stone that could capture light and redirect it? We'll name this stone Adamus. Adamus means invincible. This idea of a stone that was invincible was birthed long before Christ. 400 BC, they discovered diamonds. They thought a diamond was an adamant. But in the 1700s, they put a diamond in a vacuum, magnified light, and it vaporized. So they began to disassociate the word diamond and adamant. And adamant became known for being stubborn and unyielding. But here's what I think. I think the Greek poets and philosophers were looking for something they had not yet seen. I think they were looking for the cornerstone, that stone that the builders have rejected. I think they're looking at the stone that Daniel prophesied when he talked to Nebuchadnezzar. He said, you saw a stone not made with hands, and that stone becomes the mountain, and the mountain fills the entire earth. I think he's talking about the invincible church of Jesus Christ that is so expansive with energy that not even the gates of hell can prevail against it. I think he's talking about his glorious church. A church that is adamant is a church that is invincible. A church that will not give up ground. The church that will, having done all to stand, will stand therefore. A church that understands that battles are part of the Christian life. How many of you had a struggle last year? Look at me. Okay, all right. How many of you feel like you've had an attack this year? Okay, awesome. All right, I'm going to give you a little bit of Sicilian insight. When I get attacked, I take it as a compliment. When I get persecuted, I'm like, hallelujah. You do know the Bible says, woe to you when all men speak well of you. You do know it says that, right? We don't like that. We don't put that one on our refrigerator, but it is a truth nonetheless. When we get persecuted, in my mind, my little post-mafia brain says, oh, wow, I'm a threat. See, I think that when the enemy launches a full-scale onslaught against me, it's because there is something on me or in me that he wants to shut down. So I don't curl up in a little corner and say, why is it so hard? Jesus, take me in the rapture. I don't do that. I get mad. I start dancing. I start yelling. I start saying, that's it. Because see, I have learned something. The enemy will not attack you according to your history. He attacks you according to your destiny. He actually is not stupid, and he understands family lines. He understands decisions that you have made, and he's like, I'm going to shut them down. And so you need to get excited when you get attacked. Because the struggle of last year is for the strength of this year. And because you are here right now, you think, oh, I just need a breakthrough. Honey, you're here. You are here right now. You are in the There Is More conference. You need to shake it off and just get wild. You need to just say, I am not dead. I am not quitting. I am not stopping. I am going to get a breakthrough. Because Jesus is your breakthrough. Jesus is your breakthrough. Me laying hands on you is not your breakthrough. Jesus is your breakthrough. And I guess we have to come to the place where we have to say, what is it he left undone? God gave the life of his son completely, that you and I would be completely free. And yet we're just like, well, I just don't want to go to hell when I die. Or I just want this. You need to take it all. You need to take it all. Everything that the death of Jesus purchased for you, you need to fight and take it all. But you won't do that if you don't understand when. And you won't do that if you don't understand who you are. Who are you not to walk in the fullness of God? Who are you not? You are an ambassador of heaven walking the face of this earth. Who cares if you ever have a pulpit? Who cares? It is about your life. Next thing is you got to know what you are. You got to know what you are. Now, I'm just going to do a confession right now. I think I have a danger gene. I don't know if it's a real thing. My husband golfs. I hunt, ski, surf, had a ninja motorcycle until one of my sons wrecked it. If it can't kill me, it's not fun. If I can't break something, it's not fun. John wishes I would have a little bit of a shift in that, broken arm or broken my nose multiple times. He's like, could we not do these kind of things? But I need to recreate on the edge of death. 2 of our boys are like John. They golf. 2 of the boys are like me. One won something called the Tough Mudder. Have you ever heard of that? It's like, we want to be electrocuted. We want to go in cold water. I was so proud. I was like, I birthed you. I said, you won the Tough Mudder. That makes me a tough mother. Thank you for that. I have 2 boys that are like me, 2 boys that are like, you guys are idiots. And so I mentioned earlier that we give away resources. It's our favorite thing to do, is to give away resources to people who can't get it because of persecution or poverty. And so we were doing a distribution in Chiang Mai, and right before that we had been in Singapore, and we were having a couple of days, and one of our partners said, I want to go to Phuket. He said, I've always wanted to go to James Bond Island. I was like, that's a thing? But he was paying for everything. So we said, sure, we will go to James Bond Island. And so we get in the boat, we start to approach James Bond Island. Don't go to it, it's a tourist trap. Anyway, we start to approach, we were like, we're not getting off, this is a joke. So we started to go around and we explored a cave where I'm pretty sure there was dead people bones in it. We played with some monkeys that we weren't supposed to touch. And then they kind of pulled us up on a little tourist beach and they said, here you 4 Americans, or how many, 6 Americans, you may get out and swim here. There was like a little beach, here, swim. But I happened to notice these 2 Thai guys free diving off another island. They were covered in tattoos, they were free diving. I looked at them, and our driver saw me look at him, and he said, those guys are idiots. He said, there is a really dangerous current between these 2 islands. I don't know what happened, but as soon as he said dangerous and idiots, I made eye contact with my youngest son, Arden, and we dove off the boat. Now I had to go to this other island. Now my son is a gentleman, and he said, Mom, I will go first. Why? Go ahead and put up the picture of the jellyfish. There were jellyfish this big in the water. Okay, look them up. Cambodian blood-sucking, no, it doesn't say that. Cambodian red jellyfish. But in my mind, you see those. I hate the little jellyfish that you don't see and they sting you. So I'm like, yes, my 4th born son, you go into the field of jellyfish first. I will follow your lead. And so my son Arden is swimming through the jellyfish. I'm following him. And in my brain, I'm thinking to myself, I am so buff. I am so strong. I can't believe they tried to tell me not to do this. I used to be on the swimming team. Okay, yes, when I was 18, I forgot it had been 40 years since I'd been on the swimming team, but I remembered really quick when we hit the current. Because now all of a sudden I'm swimming as hard as I can and I'm not going forward, I'm going sideways. And Arden's like, Mom, I'm going sideways. I'm like, I'm going sideways. And then I'm thinking, okay, your danger gene has just got your son killed. I can't believe I've done this. But then Arden remembered that he was 6'3", and he thought perhaps this water is shallow enough for me to stand on. And sure enough, he put his feet down, his head was above the water, he grabbed a hold of his mom's arm, he pulls me out, we come up on the other island, we're like, and I turn, I'm like, John, bring the boat. And John just looks at me like, you're an idiot. And he just turns his back, he's like, I'm not doing it. I'm like, Arden, I don't think they're coming. Arden was like, what are we going to do? We're like, bring the boat. But they couldn't because the current was so bad. So we had to swim back through it again. Favorite moment of the trip because we almost died together. And sometimes it turns out good, and sometimes my husband gets mad at me. The danger gene has run strong for a long time, and a couple years ago, I was invited to speak in Dubai. Now, Dubai is not dangerous for me, because you know I don't like golfing. That would be dangerous for John, because he likes to golf, but it's not dangerous for me, so I had to up the danger factor. So I was getting ready to leave for Dubai, and my husband was talking to me, and he said, now you're leaving tomorrow for Propel, and you're speaking in Dallas. I said, yes. And he said, and then you're leaving Sunday for Dubai. And I said, yes. And he said, when do you actually start speaking? And then I was like, I'm gonna get caught. So I said, well, I don't speak until Friday. And he said, why are you going to Dubai on Sunday if you aren't speaking till Friday? And I said, did I forget to tell you? I'm going to Iraq first. My husband was like, what? And I said, yeah, I'm just gonna go to Iraq for a couple days before I go to Dubai. My husband was like, no, you're not. You are not going to Iraq. Have you lost your mind? And then he was like, okay, I'm gonna ask a couple more questions. He's like, so who are you going with? I said, so I'm gonna go by myself. To Iraq. And he said, what's the name? Where are you going? I said, I don't know how to pronounce it, but I have it printed out. I think it's Solomania. And he was like, okay, he's like, people are gonna be fired right now. People are gonna be fired for buying you a ticket to Iraq and not telling me. I can't believe they've covered this for you. But he didn't fire anybody because he did try to cancel the ticket, but when you cancel your outbound on an international ticket, it's like penalty time. I mean, they're like, haha, we're going to charge you your firstborn child. So my husband comes back and he was like, okay, tell me where you're staying. And I said, well, I'm going to stay in some people's house. And he was like, Lisa, how do you know these people? I said, I direct message them on Instagram. He was like, I can't even deal with you. I can't even deal with you right now. He was so mad. So I went to Iraq by myself because look at me. I can go to Iraq by myself. Randy, not so much. I can go to Iraq by myself. I look like them. I told you I'm part Middle Eastern. So I just said I'll wear flowy clothes and not talk. So I showed up in Iraq and found out pretty quick I was useless. I don't speak Arabic. I don't speak Yazidi. I don't speak Kurdish. So all I did was follow the people that did those things. I went into a Syrian refugee camp of 10,000 people. The conditions were absolutely deplorable. I went among the Yazidis. I met people that the year before had been living in Mosul making $500,000 a year, and now they lived in a shipping container. This is the kind of devastation that ISIS has done in Iraq. And everywhere I went, I watched how the people that were hosting me brought hope and brought resources to the people that they visited. I was there as a guest of Preemptive Love. And the last day I was there, the last place that we went, I watched the same scenario play out. All the young girls would come running to see them. I say young girls because there weren't young boys. Because ISIS would have the Yazidis take off their shirts, and if they had hair under their arms, they would shoot them. And if they didn't, they would enlist them. So there was young girls, there was a few moms, and there were grandmothers like me. But I noticed on this night that all the children came running, but one. One little girl that looked like she was the same age as my granddaughter Sophia hung back. So I said, why is she not with all the other girls? Because when we were sitting in the back of an abandoned semi-trailer that was now home to 14 people, all the little girls were around Jessica, and this one little girl was in the corner. And they said, oh, she lost an eye to a cancer tumor, and we've not been able to get a prosthetic eye for her where it works. She has an adult prosthetic eye, and she can't close it, and it's covered in dirt. I said, you bring that little girl over to me right now. I sat her on my lap, and what she did not know, and maybe some of you won't know this, but I too had lost my eye to the exact same cancer tumor at the exact same age. I tried to close her eye. It was impossible because it was just too big. I told her through the interpreter, I said, hey, I too have lost an eye. It's this one. I closed my eyes. She didn't believe me. One was squishy, one was hard. Y'all can check it out after service. Anyway, so she was so excited that somebody understood what she was going through. I opened up my iPad. I showed her my kids. I showed her my husband. And I said, Sarah, you can be loved. Sarah, you can have a family. Sarah, you can be whoever God calls you to be. And when I walked out to the car that night, that little girl held my hand, and I got in the car, sleeping in their basement. She was the only person I could think of. I knew I couldn't bring back her dad that ISIS had killed, but I knew I could get back to the United States of America, because contrary to popular belief, this is one of the most amazing countries on the face of the earth, and get her a new eye. So I have a picture of her before, sitting on my lap, terrified. Can you put it up? There it is. Okay, there she is, terrified. She's like, why is this American talking to me? Why have I been singled out? And then can you show the picture of her with a striped sweater? This is her after with her new eye. There she is. And that's awesome, and we're thrilled about that. But we decided we wanted to do a little bit more. Can you show the next picture? There's a bunch of girls. Okay, we sent Lizzie the Lioness to all of these little girls in Iraq, and our organization, Messenger International, paid to move all of them and all of their moms into a neighborhood where they can get an education. So why am I telling you this? Because I always saw having an artificial eye as something that disqualified me, something that was a handicap in my life. But see, what is a struggle for you actually ends up being an identity for other people, because people do not identify with us based off our strengths. They identify with us based off our vulnerabilities and let us lead them with our strengths. What are you? You're an answer looking for problems to solve. What God has done on your life, what struggle you have overcome, is an answer for somebody else.